Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fishcake Valentine. I'm Katie. I know it's been a long time since I made my first video. You know, life happens, work happens, that kind of thing. Today's video is about a German chemist, Dr. Karl Rach, and his son, Karl Wolfgang Rach, a first-generation American pilot. I found this bunch of papers at a steam show flea market. It's usually where I get most of my paper goods. I go twice a year with my friend Melanie. I get filthy disgusting, but it's totally worth it for all the interesting stuff that I find. I bought these bunch of papers from a man who coincidentally is named Karl as well. How many Karls? I've never known one Karl in my life until I bought these papers, and suddenly I know 3 Karls. Go figure. So since it's about Dr. Karl Rach and Karl Wolfgang Rach, I've decided to call it Rock Steady. You know, that song. Everybody does that song, right? Please tell me you know that song. So here's the stack of papers that I got. I'm just going to quickly fast forward through all these. I'm going to show you the close-ups, but in fast forward mode. There's just too many, and it would take too long and make the video like 45 minutes. First up is a Dover Boiler Works receipt, 1938. And then some attorney bills, 1905. Home and life insurance policies. There's several. A water bill from the City of New York, 1925. And another bill from 1927. A telephone bill, New York Telephone Company. A Department of Finance letter. Another water bill, paid August 14th, 1926. This leaves 1924, 1925, 1926 unpaid. Chelsea Finance Corporation letter. Another water bill, water supplied by meter at 15 cents per cubic feet, $2.85 paid 12/12/39. Okay, some more water bills. I just keep showing them to you. There's so many. One more. Next up is a letter receipt from U.S. to Nuremberg, Germany, 1912. A day letter telegram. A letter about placing a cooker in a brewery. A letter asking for information about dryers for wet brewer's grain. The Logman brothers requesting information from Dr. Karl. The People's Products requesting a catalog and a descriptive circular of a caramelizer and cookers. Another receipt. A bill from the American Brewers Review, $5 a year. Sorry, thought that was in focus. A Meyer Heinberg letter, 1910. United States Brewmasters Association letter in German. Richard Simon & Sons letter about a contract. Sprague Electric Works letter and receipt. A letter describing the cost of parts. A handwritten drafted letter from 1916. Another handwritten draft to the Master Brewers Association of the United States. Here are some handwritten business cards. A letter from Hershey Manufacturing Company, not to be confused with Hershey. Invoice to George Keller Copper Works in Brooklyn. A description of the work that Karl did for them, September 1939. A cute little rusty paper clip. And finally, some hand-drawn schematics. There's more to see later on in the video. I'm really interested to find out more about Karl, as my collection spans 40 years of American history, from 1899 to 1940. After World War I ended in 1918, German immigrants who had done well in the brewing industry, like Karl, were unpopular and eventually became the villain of the Prohibitionist movement. It was only 2 years later, in 1920, that Prohibition went into effect. Okay, let's take a look on FamilySearch.org. I put in Karl Rach, and I put in his birthplace as Germany.
No, I don't know what year yet. No, I put in residence. I know he lived in New York. So you can see here there are multiple census records. Let's start with, I believe it's 1905. Okay, let's zoom in. If you get real close, you can see that Carl Rach, Lernia, and Carl Jr. And Carl's listed as a doctor. Okay, the next census record is from 1910. Okay, if we zoom in, we can find Carl, Eleanor, and Carl. Now, I don't know if she changed her name to assimilate or if they just heard her wrong the first time. But here he's listed as a chemist for a manufacturer. Okay, moving on to 1920. Okay, let's zoom in. We can find Carl and Eleanor and Carl. Carl's 57 in this. She seems to be 38, which I don't think that's right. Okay, German. And here, he's a chemist for a metal foundry. I'm assuming because of Prohibition, he didn't want to advertise that he was in the brewing industry. Okay, last one is 1940. Zoom in. It's just Carl and Eleanor, and he's listed as retired. Okay, moving on to this piece of paper right here. It's got a letterhead of Rach's mashing process and co. It seems to be a rough draft of something he sent out later. Gentlemen, a prominent brewer on the European continent invited me to introduce my cooker and mashing process in his brewery, and I used my presence in Europe to see other brewers in order to offer to them my services for the erection of cookers, being convinced that I can save them a big sum of money during the year. Without self-praise, can say that I am an authority for brewing with raw grain in the United States, where raw grain for the production of beer is generally used, and where I brought the methods of using rice and maize for brewing to perfection.
It is my intention to travel in England before long, and I should be pleased to call on you. Some lines from you would be highly appreciated by somebody.
So what can we find out about Carl on the internet? A quick Google search pulls up these Google books. Carl is mentioned in One Continuous Picnic, A Gastronomic History of Australia. Visiting beer judge at the World Exhibition in Melbourne in 1888, Dr. Carl Rach thought that there could be no country in which more severe demands are made on the durability of beer. Okay, here's another American brewer's review. Dr. Carl is mentioned in enhancing the Selweg rotary cone press. I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's to dry grains. I'm really grateful that Google decided to digitize these. I love scrolling through and seeing all the designs. If you scroll down a page or two, you can see that Dr. Carl is mentioned again, for his rock dryer and how he improved it. I wish there was enough time to show you all the times Dr. Carl was mentioned in books and in brewers' reviews, but we're just going to stick with a couple of examples. In this section, you can see he's mentioned again. Rach's cookers. At present, Dr. Carl Rach is erecting the 4th cooker for the Indianapolis Brewing Company. This is the 4th order of the mentioned firm, which is a proof for the great practical value of the Rach cooker. It goes on to say Dr. Rach has made the following installations, Dr. Rach has carried out the following orders, etc. It's pretty popular. It's the American Brewing Institute transactions. You can see in the contents, there's highlighted Dr., but you can also see Dr. Rach. And it says Carl Rach, PhD. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. You see his name highlighted. Scrolling down a couple of pages, you see that Carl Rach is about to read his paper, and it's called, "In What Manner Should Our Brewing Industry Develop to Be of Greatest Benefit to the Public and Itself?" The actual purpose of the brewing industry is the production of a nutritive and refreshing beverage, beer, the consumption of which promotes the welfare and health, the happiness and the contentment of the people. Our brewing industry should develop in a manner to elevate, improve, and increase the consumption of beer. There's a follow-up paper next month. Have we ever properly tried to brew Bavarian beer?
So here's this notebook.
This is a notebook that must be at least 100 years old. The pages are browned and crisp, smeared with pencil lead. There are rows of numbers and hand-drawn graphs, all barely held together with the string of its binding. I imagine Carl carried this wherever he went in his briefcase and wrote down all the details that he could. And of course, being a chemist notebook, here's some formulas there.
The one thing that I want to say about it is it's very intricate. The handwriting is very neat. It takes a lot of time and a lot of concentration to write all this down. It's just nuts. I mean, the amount of information in here, and obviously a lot of it's in German and I can't read it, but it just goes to show how very intelligent he was, and the attention to detail is nuts. I mean, great, good nuts. You know, this whole project I've kind of wondered what Carl was thinking, about Prohibition, because he's smack dab in the middle of American history. I mean, and then I came upon this one article. It's entitled Beer, a Liquid Food by Dr. Carl Rach.
This article was printed in the Western Brewer, March 1918. It says, "Beer, a liquid food, the production of beers of high extract and low alcohol content by Dr. Carl Rach." A paper read February 9, 1918, at the meeting of the New York District Master Brewers Association of the United States. Although during the time of its greatest development between 1890 and 1915, the brewing industry of the United States came to lead all other beer-producing countries, serious dangers are now threatening this industry and are endangering its future. The unfavorable condition of the trade is in part due to fierce world conflict now raging, but the greatest danger arises from the ever-increasing influence of the Prohibition movement. Prohibition aims to put an end to all consumption of alcoholic liquors. Although the movement has been underway for hundreds of years, it has gained a most surprising headway during the last quarter of the century. It goes on to say, it cannot be denied that alcohol in concentrated form has been the cause of much misery. When taken in excess, the individual sacrifices his health and nervous energy. Excessive alcohol injures the mental faculties and reduces the morale of the individual. It also interferes with the order of human society. My favorite part is where he says, alcohol is also a most valuable medicinal agent. As a fuel, alcohol is absolutely necessary, and in this respect, it ranks very close to coal. I'm going to continue to scroll down. I can't read the whole thing as it's pages long, but as you see, you can catch some words in there, and you can see the comparisons to food and to fuel and all scientific reasoning. At the end of the article, Carl sums it up perfectly. The objects of prohibition can only be obtained through the moral power of the individual, through the teachings of hygiene and physiology. Fanaticism and excesses will not mend the evil, but will only tend to increase it. We should all bear in mind that beer is a food, and that it must be brewed accordingly. This fact is our foundation, which no power in the world will be able to destroy. Upon it rests the existence of the brewing industry.
I really thought this article was interesting. I like how he used science to try to save beer. Like, it's beer. Don't take my beer. Of course you're gonna get, completely trashed on, tequila or hard liquor. Of course you're gonna get completely trashed on this junk that they're selling nowadays. But, we need beer. We need beer to survive. I need beer to survive. Please save the beer. Very excited to find this piece of information. And, I found it later on in the project, so that goes to show you just got to keep looking for things. You got to keep trying over months, and you find the information that you need. I was very excited. I mean, what are the odds of me finding something like this that links directly to Carl, that is his words, that's how he feels? I was just blown away. I'm just saying.
I still have a few hidden gems left in this pile of papers. Here is a German brewer article, dated 23rd October 1939, that Carl had literally fact-checked. Was he keeping his mind sharp? Or was he still working at the age of 77? This is a set of correspondences between Carl and David Gibson, publisher and editor of the Brewers Journal, dated early June 1940. The first letter is asking Carl to review some abstracts so he could comment on them and make it in the June 15th issue. Carl responds by saying, "I mailed my regular article yesterday. Your article came today. Sorry about your luck." A response came 2 days later, saying, "Never mind, you can comment on them later. For now, your article is already off to the printers for the current issue." The last paragraph mentions using a photograph of Carl in every issue, and that he had an article last month, too, in which the photograph had been left out. It looked like Carl had a regular column, and would go on to write many articles for years to come. But was it meant to be? I found this drafted letter to a doctor, dated November 29th, 1939. It's basically a letter giving the doctor $25 and thanking him for his kind services. He goes on to say, "I bought a new truss," which I'm assuming is a walker. Was Carl unwell? Was this a sign of things to come? Dr. Carl Rach died June 29, 1940, at the Staten Island Hospital in New York, years before modern blood thinners and cholesterol medication. Carl's cause of death was a coronary thrombosis, also known as a blood clot. He left behind his wife Eleanor and his son Carl Wolfgang. He lived in America for 62 years and in New York for 40. Carl was a brilliant man who worked until his last days.
I find Carl's story fascinating. A self-made man who came to a strange country with English as his second language, using his brains and his talent to thrive and, survive culture shock. To say he was passionate about making beer was an understatement. He devoted his life to it, endured prohibition and possible vilification. And he came out on the other side, so, that's pretty ballsy to me. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Before I go, I want to show you one last set of papers. Don't worry, it'll be quick. This is a set of bills from the Whitehead Metal Products Company, billing Dr. Carl Rock and Son for the stupendous amount of $4.73. The first letter was dated March 15, 1940, and the second one came only 10 days later, March 25, 1940. In the second letter, they're basically saying, we told you about that $4.73, and you still haven't paid us 10 days later. Send us a reply. Please refer to GOK in your letter. Carl's response may seem like an ordinary letter, but I like to read between the lines. Carl writes, "Gentlemen, we refer to your letter marked GOK and enclosed check for the balance we owe you. Both Dr. Carl Rock and C.W. Rock are very often absent from New York on business, and therefore did not find an opportunity to give this small bill their attention before this. Very truly yours, Dr. Carl Rock and Son."
Obviously, he saved them for a reason. I don't know, I feel like this was like a joke. Like his sense of humor. Are you kidding me? Like, why are you bothering me for this $4.73? But surely, here's a check. So please stop bothering us. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to hit thumbs up, like, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos. Hopefully I'll make sure they come out more often than every 6 months. Stay tuned. Don't forget to check out the second video of the series. It's Rocksteady Part 2. It's about Carl Wolfgang Rock, the American pilot. So it's really cool. I'm very excited for it. There's so much stuff that I found. So until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye!